Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mountain Harmony Gardening. I'm Kristen, and today is planting day, so let's get started. Well, it's been a very long day, but I think we are finally down to the home stretch. We're up to our peppers and our tomatoes to plant, and these are my tomatoes. They are really small. I told you guys that they didn't do as well. And these are my pepper plants. I'm not exactly sure what went wrong this year, but I'm thinking that next year I'm just going to plant them in the solo cups to start out with regular soil and see if that makes a difference. Hopefully it does, but all of these can be planted and they will grow. I've planted plants this small before and I've still gotten a good plant out of them and a good harvest. So the first bed that we are going to start off today with is the pepper bed. And we are only going to be planting part of it because these peppers are not really ready, some of them, to go in the ground yet. But we will figure out where we're going to plant them and kind of leave them in their spots in their solo cups. I just want to give them a few more days in the sunshine. But the tomatoes, I think, are pretty ready to go into the ground. So let's get started. We've got the grates off and it took us a little bit, but we've got our drip irrigation lined out again and we'll probably adjust it as we're planting. But something that Donnie just noticed is we've got a huge ant problem down here. All of this is ants. Yeah, that can happen sometimes with raised beds and we're definitely going to have to fix it. But next we're going to lay out all of the peppers. So we're going to do a time lapse of that. We got all of the pepper plants laid out and I'm using the square foot gardening method so you can plant your peppers a lot closer together and they also don't need support. If you do it this way too, they kind of lean on each other and I notice that I don't have to stake them up. And I've been doing it like this for years. You okay, Sax? What were you doing? Trying to jump over the fence? That had to have been funny behind me. So this is the only pepper that survived out of all the peppers that I tried to overwinter and is the pepper that last year did not produce anything. And I'm hoping that since it's this tall, it will produce something. We're also going to prune it back because a little bit of it died back over winter time. These are two peppers that I bought at one of the big box stores. And then these ones in the solo cups over here that are taller, I actually bought at Sebastian's school because they had a plant sale. So they look really good. So now the other thing that I'm going to be doing is we're going to be planting the ones that are large enough, which are the ones back here. And I put them towards the back so they don't shade out these ones. But a lot of these are too small to plant. Like I think I could probably get away with planting this one and maybe like this one. But the rest of them still look kind of sad, and I want to give them time to adjust just a little bit more before I plant them. But the back half down here, I'm going to be planting carrots and radishes and beets down here. So this whole part of the bed can be planted because it's all going to be from seed. The first thing that we're going to plant in our raised bed is we're going to plant our rutabagas and our turnips and carrots in here. But we want to give them a good foundation, a good start. So we're going to take some of the BioLive And we're just going to sprinkle it over the whole entire bed like this. And this way, this will give them a good start because I will water in later with the mycorrhizae. So I don't need to do the dried right now because they actually don't have a root system yet. Okay, so got that done. Now, rutabagas can get really big, but I'm going to try to harvest them when they're smaller. And I just felt a raindrop. Wow, we've had all kinds of weather today. So I'm going to keep them kind of closer together than I normally would. And, oh, my golden beets. There we go. Those are my favorite. I really love those. Okay. Got radishes in here and some more carrots. So kind of a variety in here. And I'm going to have to eventually trim up the lilac bush or somehow maybe tie it to the fence. I don't know. It's kind of flopping everywhere. And once I don't want to trim off blooms this year, actually. I want to save them and try to get some seeds. But we might just have to tie it up and tie it back just so we can walk through here. And this is going to be shading out the bed a little bit more than I want. And I will trim some of it up, but you don't want to take too much, only 25% of the bush. And with this being a smaller lilac bush, I can't really trim a whole lot out of it because if I do, the next year, the leaves will come out all crinkly and it won't flower. I found that out the hard way at the last place I lived with my lilac that I have. But that lilac bush got to be over 16 feet tall. It was huge and it bloomed beautifully every single year. So this one has a little ways to go yet. All right. So now I want to plant these. It says spacing is 4 to 6 inches, and I usually give them about 6 inches and half an inch deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing with a whole bunch of other ones, kind of make like a little trench, and that's where I'm going to plant them. And I just take a few of the seeds out. And I just sprinkle them in. That way, I know that I'm getting a good amount of beets in every single spot. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle there. Another one right there. And I leave these trenches open until I'm done. That way I can kind of see what my spacing is throughout here. And I could get out a tape measure and use a tape measure and put it right down here and let it sit there and go every 6 inches. But I can kind of eyeball it right now and it'll be okay. I can see in the soil pretty good right now. So we're just going to do that again. There we go. And we'll do a few more beets and just sprinkle them in again. And I finally decided that I'm only going to grow the ones that I actually eat, and the yellow ones are my favorites. So I'm just going to grow the yellow beets from now on. Not as fond of the red ones. And as a kid, I wouldn't touch these. Couldn't stand them. But I know that they're good for you, and I wanted to grow them for juicing. And I decided, all right, I'll give them a try again. And I found out as an adult, as long as they're raw and you put them in a salad or you juice them, I actually like them now. But as a kid, I absolutely hated beets. All right, the next ones we're going to do are carrots. And it says like 3 inches apart. So I'm still going to start 6 inches away from the beets. And I'm going to do these closer together. So you notice that my line is getting closer together. And I'm going to alternate these all the way down. So those, and I've also heard from another YouTuber that you could put like sand in a salt and pepper shaker. Probably a salt shaker would be a little bit better for the size that these are. and then you can just sprinkle them out. And I thought that was a pretty clever way to do it, but I do get a pretty good spread just by lightly sprinkling them through here. And then I just keep doing this until I have all 3 of my rows completely filled. And carrots, for them to germinate, they probably need just a light dusting of soil over them. And with the other ones, they need to be a little bit deeper. And in that other bed, the zucchini bed, we have a couple of carrots sprouting from last year. I don't know where they came from. It seems like they're in the wrong spot, but that's okay. If they germinated on their own and they're from seeds last year, they just came back, that's cool. They can live over there if they want to. Okay. Now the next ones we will do is we will do the rutabagas. And they are 6 inches apart. So I will start 6 inches over from the carrots. Just like that. And I'm repeating the 6-inch pattern that I did with the beets. And same idea. We're going to sprinkle them. And then when they sprout, just thin them out. It's that easy. But I like to kind of oversow on things like this because I really want to make sure that we get whatever I'm planting. And just kind of sprinkle them in there. And do the last row. And then once we're done doing this, we'll just kind of repeat the pattern until we reach the pepper plants. And I will give them at least 6 inches on the end so that we can make sure that the peppers have plenty of space to grow. And the peppers this year won't get as large as the ones last year because I'm not growing the exact same varieties. All right, we'll be right back as soon as I'm done planting. Well, it gets sunny, it gets cloudy, and then it gets sunny again. So I put my hat back on just in case it gets sunny again. We're going to be planting our peppers, and we plant them like most of the other plants that we've been planting in the garden lately. So what you want to do is you want to dig a hole for these guys. You want to take some of the BioLive or whatever other product you'd like to use to give them a good start. Sprinkle a little bit in the hole. Okay. Pop them out. This has pretty good root system too. Sprinkle some of the mycorrhizae on the roots. And this will get them off to a good start. And you want to make sure that you firm them down in so that they have good contact with the other soil, not just what's in their pot. There we go. Make sure you mark them. And now I know what it is. And I will be planting several others of these. And I will come back after I'm done doing that, and I will show you how I'm going to trim up the pepper that we overwintered. Well, someone had to come get some kitty love in the garden after attacking my hat, right? Earlier today? Yeah. Oh, apparently she wants to be held. Are we having a holding moment? Yes. All right, here. We'll go down. Here. There you go. Good girl, Lola. Oh, cat hair everywhere. She's shedding bad. All right. So we planted the ones that we purchased along with a few of the plants that the one we overwintered and a couple of the starts that we had, because these ones had a little bit greener leaves than some of the other ones. So I thought, oh, let's go ahead and try them. And they actually did have better root systems. So what we did was we planted those. And then you'll see like the little bit of a yellow kind of dusting on some of these. That's a little bit of fertilizer to see if we can get them off to a good start in this next week. Now we're going to be moving on to the tomatoes. Now I need to decide which plants I'm going to keep and which plants I am just not going to plant. And I do have some people that I could probably give these away to, but I need to make the decision. I cannot plant all of these. So I know that the friend who gave me these said that this tall one was probably cherry tomato, which do really well in our climate. And then some of these I bought, so these are both cherry tomatoes. And then she said that some of these other ones are beefsteaks, and beefsteaks don't do as well in my garden, so I'm probably going to just plant a couple of them, the ones that look the best. And then for our other tomatoes, let's see, these ones are the Italian tomato. Is that what they're called? Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes. And then these ones are the spoon tomatoes. And then these ones right here are the black cherry. And I have a couple more. Oh, there they are. A couple more black cherry tomatoes. And I'm going to just pick the best out of this large group of tomatoes that I have, and I'm going to plant them. But I will definitely be giving the ones that are still healthy away to some other people. Now we're going to get to plant the tomatoes finally. And we're going to start with this Indigo Ruby cherry tomato. It's one that I bought at a greenhouse locally here. And one thing about tomatoes that you should know is that anywhere along their stem that can actually grow roots. So this is one thing that you can do with tomatoes to get them off to a really good start, is to plant them really deep. Now you can go ahead and just remove off the leaves. They're going to be below ground. And I know that looks a little bit sad, but trust me, I do this every single year and it gets my tomatoes off to a great start. So I'm actually going to be burying this tomato all the way up to here. So I'm going to have to dig a pretty deep hole. Root ball of another plant, break that up. All right. Now, another thing that tomatoes also need is they need calcium. So I always use this oyster shells by Down to Earth. And I'm going to put some of that in there. And you want to keep consistent watering, because if you don't water consistently, they will not be able to uptake the calcium. So sprinkle a good amount into the hole. I also want to give this a little bit of the BioLife. And of course, we can't forget the mycorrhizae. Because look at that. That's got a really good root system. Sprinkle it on. And then, I need to go a little bit deeper. That looks good. And then you cover the whole thing back up. And we didn't go quite as deep, but that's okay. Most of it is buried in the ground. And that's how you want to plant all of your tomatoes. So now I'm going to plant all the rest of the tomatoes here. And then once I'm done, I'll show you the finished product. One thing that I also wanted to mention is that we are going to be planting all of this with companion planting. So in front of the tomatoes, I will be planting a lot of basil and a lot of marigold. But for today's video, we are worn out and I can do this after work during this week, and I will do that for sure. But some of it is already companion planted because there's a lot of chives and onions in here, which are good for tomatoes. What a really long day. We got up at, I think, 5:30 this morning. We were at the big box store by 7 so that we could buy the stakes for the plants and some other flowers and some more soil to be able to fill all of this in over here for the cinder blocks. And I am beat. I'm sure Donnie's beat too. Tired. Yeah, he's tired. All right, so we got all of the tomato plants in. I didn't use all that I had, but I used 10 of them. So that's quite a few tomatoes. Most of them are cherry tomatoes, so they'll stay a little bit smaller. These last two, which my friend thought were beef steaks, I'm going to keep them trimmed to 1 liter. That's it. But with the cherry tomatoes, you kind of let them grow wild. I do trim them a little bit, but as we go through the season, I will be showing you exactly how I take care of these. Now, the next step is I'm going to have to water all this in, because you can see that all of our melons down here, the soil is really dry and they need a good drink. Same thing with these plants over here. Part of them have gotten watered in. I need to water the peppers in. But before I put the mulch on, I need to make sure that all the soil underneath here is really hydrated, because it's really dry right now. I don't want to just be watering in the mulch. I want to actually water the soil. So I will water all this in really well, and then I'll put the mulch on, and I will water the mulch again to make sure that the mulch is also moist. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. If you have any questions on anything we planted in the last 3 videos, please drop them in the comments below, and I will answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. Happy gardening, everyone.